everything possible to de-escalate. Local media has reported extensively on the cooperation to de-escalate this situation.
Local media.
Donald Trump, I call on you once again. Remove this force from Minnesota.
No, that's not even on the table. No, there's no way we're removing this force. No way. Like, are you going to let you bully us out of town? You know what type of precedent that would set? Then the next town we go into, they'll say, okay, all we got to do is agitate, throw hissy fits and cry, whine, and, force them to kill a couple of us, and then we can get them out of here. Under no circumstances are we leaving. Hell no. That would set a terrible, not just with ICE, but just nationwide. It would just let the liberals know that, give them a victory. You can't give these liberals a victory. No, you got to defeat them totally.
They are sowing chaos and violence. We've seen deadly violence from federal agents again and again and again. But in contrast to that, on these frozen streets, what you witnessed yesterday was the best of Minnesotans, peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights. And I attended in the church basement hundreds of Minnesotans from all faiths packing care packages for families that have been ripped apart. Despite the horrific acts by this federal government, Minnesotans are standing up for the rule of law. They're protesting loudly and urgently, but peacefully. It must stay that way, Minnesota.
How come they keep getting shot?
Minnesotans are witnessing.
How come they keep getting shot if they protested so peacefully?
And we're creating a log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this. They're helping their neighbors.
Did you hear that?
Walking their kids to school.
This is the most important thing he said right here.
But in contrast to that, on these frozen streets, what you witnessed yesterday was the best of Minnesotans, peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights. And I attended in the church basement hundreds of Minnesotans from all faiths packing care packages for families that have been ripped apart. Despite the horrific acts by this federal government, Minnesotans are standing up for the rule of law. They're protesting loudly and urgently, but peacefully. It must stay that way, Minnesota. Minnesotans are witnessing, and we're creating a log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this. Minnesotans are witnessing, and we're creating a log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this.
So as soon as a Democrat gets in office, all these ICE agents are going to going to be on trial. Soon as some liberal lunatic gets in the White House, and here's the thing, there's not going to be any him and hawing about it. Democrats are not going to have to wait. There's not going to be any. There's not going to be Pam Bondi.
They're helping.
There's not going to be any judges out of nowhere say, "Oh no, you can't do that. That's illegal." District judge, circuit judges interfering. As soon as a liberal lunatic gets back in the White House, well, they may prioritize putting men back in women's sports. But after they, put men back in women's sports and put boys back in girls' sports, the second thing they're going to do is prosecute these ICE agents, okay? The second thing they're going to do is prosecute these ICE agents. I promise you. This is not a threat. This is a promise right here. This right here is not a threat, what Tim Walz just said. This is a promise.
It must stay that way, Minnesota. Minnesotans are witnessing, and we're creating a log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this. They're helping their neighbors. They're walking their kids to school. They're feeding families. I salute their courage.
And I guarantee you won't hear many conservative platforms talking about this, right? As you go around today and you watch your conservative platforms, right? Other than the ones that watch me. The ones that watch me will talk about this. But you're not going to hear a lot of conservative platforms that pick that up. Press one. That, what Tim Walz said, was the most important thing he said. As soon as they get back in the White House, all these ICE agents are going on trial. The ICE directors, all of them, the sergeants, the lieutenants, everybody's going on trial. And you're going to hear a lot about a bunch of shit today as the day goes on. You ain't going to hear nothing about that. That's why y'all come to Black Columbo, man. Black Columbo in the building, man. We going to always crack the case, man. We going to always crack the case. You said even if it's 20 years from now. Yeah, definitely. It's the first chance they get, they're going to bring these ICE agents up on charges. And not just the shooters. Remember, listen to what he says and what I told you earlier. They're creating footage. So everybody You see all these tussles where the white liberal will come up and just fall down and then fight and then won't, tussle with and it's like 6 agents on one person trying to control them. Those little scenes are being created for the future. So we say, officer so-and-so, officer so-and-so, and so-and-so, they beat the shit out of this woman, even though we know that's not what happened. But they beat the shit out of this guy, and we're charging them with police brutality or assault or whatever, right?
Minnesota. Minnesotans are witnessing, and we're creating a log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this. They're helping their neighbors. They're walking their kids to school. They're feeding families. I salute their courage and their restraint, and I call on all Americans to see the decency that this state is exhibiting and the horrific cruelty, unprofessional.
He's such an emotional bitch. Look, he's such an emotional bitch.
Absolute abomination that is passing for what these ICE agents are doing on our streets. They think they can provoke us into abandoning our values. Well, they're dead wrong. We'll keep the peace. We'll secure the justice with our neighbors, and we'll see this occupation ends. Minnesotans and Minnesota law enforcement that continuously is being denigrated by this administration will continue to be the adults in the room, the professionals in the room, the decent human beings in the room that will keep the peace. With this, I'd like to turn it over to Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson.
This guy's unfit for leadership, man. Shout out to Serious Black Thought. He says, Dems using celebs now. Viola Davis playing the cop.